They destroyed a human colony. Earth responded with 500,000 warships. Its skies were painted with shades of green and gold during the day, and at night, the twin moons cast silver light across oceans and mountains. Humans had lived there for decades, building cities that blended with nature. The colony was small but thriving. Families worked on farms, scientists studied new species, and engineers maintained starports where ships came and went with regularity. On a seemingly ordinary morning, the sun rose over the horizon, bright and calm, with no warning of what was about to happen. At 08:13 local time, alarms blared across Aurora Prime. Not the usual emergency drills, not the mild tremors from deep planetary mining. They were real. Hundreds of sensors reported a sudden energy spike in orbit. Massive shapes moved through space above the planet. The Xylar Collective had arrived. The Xylar were not known to humans before this day. They were a mysterious alien race, rumored to exist on the edge of the Milky Way. Humans had heard occasional transmissions of their movements, strange signals, and unidentified fleets far beyond human borders. No one thought they would come to attack a small colony. Colonial Governor Elara Tanny stood on the observation deck of Aurora Prime's main spaceport, eyes wide at the readings flashing before her. Her heart raced, but she forced herself to stay calm. "They're massive," she whispered to her aide. "Not just fighters. Those are capital ships." The Xylar fleet did not waste time. Before human defenses could react, they unleashed devastating energy beams. Entire cities disappeared in seconds. Oceans boiled. Mountains crumbled. The screams of millions were carried across the planet, and then silence. In orbit, the colonial defense forces tried to respond. Their shields and small fleets were no match for the Xylar war machines. Within minutes, the colony's orbital stations were shattered, sending flaming debris into the atmosphere. Aurora Prime, a once thriving human world, was erased. Back on Earth, the transmissions came too late to save most of the colonists. But the horror reached the humans in time to ignite a fire of anger that would burn across the galaxy. In the Earth Defense Council, alarms blared. Military leaders, scientists, politicians, and diplomats crowded into the vast command chamber. Massive screens displayed fragments of the attack, live streams of debris, and the few desperate messages from Aurora Prime before the transmissions cut off completely. Admiral Selene Vargos sat quietly at the edge of the room. Her face was calm, almost serene, but her mind raced. Known for her tactical genius and steady command, she had faced crises before, but nothing like this. "They wiped out a colony," she said softly, her voice carrying authority. "Not a military base, not a frontier station. A colony, millions of civilians. They think they can scare us. They think we will wait and do nothing. They are wrong." Her words were met with silence, then murmurs of agreement. Earth had faced threats before, but never with such brutality. This was not a warning. This was a challenge. Earth's leaders acted quickly. For years, humans had kept warship production steady but limited. After the disaster at Aurora Prime, those plans were accelerated beyond imagination. Factories on the Moon, Mars, and orbital platforms worked around the clock. Engineers designed ships faster than ever before, using advanced AI to coordinate construction, testing, and deployment. By the end of the first week, thousands of warships were in orbit, armed, and ready. By the end of the month, tens of thousands. Earth announced quietly to the galaxy that they would respond, not with words, not with diplomacy, but with full force. Meanwhile, small human reconnaissance teams began scanning the Xylar fleets. They learned quickly that the Xylar had underestimated humans. Their ships were enormous, powerful, and fast, but not clever. Humans were known for improvisation, adaptability, and ingenuity. The Xylar thought they had destroyed the colony with one strike, and that Earth would tremble. They were wrong. On Aurora Prime, scattered survivors, Tiny groups who had been out in mining stations, research vessels, or deep underground began sending encrypted messages to Earth. Their voices were shaky, but they carried information the Xylar had not anticipated. They had observed the alien tactics. They had seen weaknesses in shields, patterns in fleet movements, and most importantly, they had survived. Admiral Vargos listened to these transmissions carefully. Each detail was precious. Every hint of Xylar vulnerability was a step toward humanity's retaliation. In orbit above Earth, warship construction platforms glowed like giant stars, producing hundreds of ships every day. The Earth Defense Council realized the sheer scale of what they were doing. This was not just a fleet, it was a statement. Humanity would not be crushed or humiliated. On the first night after Aurora Prime's destruction, the media and public across Earth were in mourning, but also in defiance. Statues were erected in memory of the lost colony. Schools, universities, and city centers held vigils, but everywhere the message was clear: humanity would strike back. Social media exploded with cries of justice, anger, and resolve. Humans were uniting for the first time in decades against a single common threat. Admiral Vargos walked along the docks of Orbital Command Station Alpha, inspecting the fleet preparations personally. Ships gleamed under artificial lights, bristling with weapons, engines humming with potential energy. She touched the hull of a new battleship, her hand feeling the vibrations from the powerful engines inside. "They don't know us," she said quietly to herself. "They don't know what humans can do when we fight for survival." Meanwhile, the Xylar fleet had returned to their home systems, unaware that Earth was already preparing the most massive military response in human history. They believed their demonstration was enough to cow humanity. They did not realize that humans had learned, adapted, and were preparing for retaliation on a scale no one had imagined. Across Earth, scientists worked on experimental weapons. They developed energy cannons, shields capable of absorbing enormous attacks, and AI-driven tactical networks. Entire fleets were connected in real time, able to respond faster than any Xylar command structure could predict. Humanity was turning grief into power. Admiral Vargos convened a meeting with the top officers and engineers. In the Grand Planning Chamber, holographic displays showed the Xylar home territories and fleets. Hundreds of thousands of data points scrolled across the displays. "We will not fight them like they expect," she explained. "We will not send a single fleet and hope for luck. We will hit them with everything we have: 500,000 warships. Ships of all sizes, from carriers to frigates to small, agile strike craft. Every weapon, every fleet, every mind connected. They will not see us coming." One young engineer, Cale Munro, raised his hand. "Admiral, that's impossible. We don't have enough time or resources to build that many ships." Admiral Vargos smiled faintly. "Impossible is just a word. Humans have built wonders before. We will build this fleet. We will strike with precision, and we will win." As Earth prepared, the Xylar continued their expansion along the outer rim. They sent patrols to scout human borders, expecting resistance but finding none. Earth had deliberately hidden its preparations. The Xylar believed humanity was weak, fractured, and fearful. They had no idea how much was happening behind the scenes. Back on Aurora Prime, the few survivors were gathering resources. They salvaged old ships, repaired damaged vessels, and sent coded signals back to Earth. They shared critical intelligence: Xylar tactics, fleet formations, weapon types, and weak points in shields. Every scrap of information was invaluable. The human response was not just military, it was personal. Families of the lost colonists volunteered for service. Engineers left their labs to help build warships. Pilots trained day and night, ready to take command of vessels that could tip the balance of the galaxy. The human spirit, driven by survival, loss, and determination, became a force no one could ignore. In orbit above the ruined colony, small teams of drones and ships began collecting what they could from Aurora Prime. They recovered logs, research, and technology that would later be critical for designing weapons against the Xylar. Every action, every small step built toward a single goal: justice and survival. As Part 1 draws to a close, humanity stands at a turning point. Aurora Prime is gone, but the seeds of vengeance and resilience are growing across Earth and its colonies. Millions of humans are readying themselves. Hundreds of factories hum with life. Tens of thousands of warships are being built every day, connected by AI networks, prepared for a retaliation no alien has ever imagined. And at the center of it all, Admiral Selene Vargos watches, waiting for the day when humanity will respond. The Xylar believe they are victorious. They do not know that their arrogance has awakened a force that will not rest until they pay for their crime. Aurora Prime may be destroyed, but humanity is rising, and the galaxy will remember that humans do not forgive easily. The months after Aurora Prime's destruction were a whirlwind of preparation, innovation, and tense anticipation. Earth had transformed into a planet-wide hub of military production. Orbital shipyards glowed day and night, engines thrummed, and sparks flew from metal as human hands shaped the future fleet. 500,000 warships were being built, a number that would shock any species that underestimated humans. Admiral Selene Vargos oversaw the fleet's training programs personally. She walked through the corridors of massive training complexes, observing pilots mastering ships and crews learning to operate in coordination with AI systems. Humans had a unique strength: creativity and adaptability. No Xylar algorithm, no matter how sophisticated, could predict how humans would respond in battle. "This is not just a fleet," she told her officers. "This is humanity itself. Every ship, every crew, every idea. Our ingenuity is our weapon. We fight smart, we fight fast, and we fight as one. The Xylar will not see us coming until it is too late." In the outer systems, small reconnaissance teams were already in motion. Tiny human ships, disguised as asteroids or debris, began mapping Xylar fleet movements. These scouts discovered something crucial. The Xylar were arrogant, believing the destruction of Aurora Prime had shown Earth's weakness. They assumed humans would hide behind their planet, afraid to strike. They were wrong. On one scout mission, a small vessel commanded by Commander Cale Munro, a bright young tactician, observed a Xylar patrol near the outer edge of their space. The alien ships were enormous, bristling with weapons, but their formation was rigid, predictable. "They think they're untouchable," Cale said to his co-pilot, Lieutenant Mara Ives, as their tiny ship darted between debris. "They've never faced humans before. They don't know how clever we can be." Cale had studied the Xylar attack patterns. Every move they made left gaps, weaknesses, or predictable sequences. He plotted a risky strike plan, sending encrypted reports back to Admiral Vargos. Humans had learned that victory often came not from raw firepower but from clever tactics and adaptation. On Earth, the Council debated the fleet's first moves. Some leaders argued for caution. "We should test our power before attacking them directly," one said. "We do not know what they are capable of." Admiral Vargos disagreed. "We have to act decisively. Waiting will only give them time to learn our weaknesses. We strike first, and we strike smart." The first series of human attacks began with small, precise strikes. Human ships moved in swarms, appearing suddenly in Xylar-controlled systems. Using cloaking devices, AI-coordinated attacks, and human creativity, these swarms disabled supply lines, destroyed outposts, and disrupted Xylar communications. The Xylar were shocked. Their technology was superior, yes, but humans fought differently than any species they had encountered. They improvised, adapted, and coordinated in ways no algorithm could anticipate. One particularly daring attack occurred near the Veyron Gate, a Xylar warp hub critical for moving fleets between systems. A small human strike team, led by Cale Munro, infiltrated the heavily defended system. Using decoy signals and carefully timed jumps, they planted energy disruptors on key Xylar ships. Within hours, Xylar communications collapsed, leaving the hub vulnerable. Back on Earth, Admiral Vargos monitored the attack in real time through a massive holographic display. She smiled as Xylar ships failed to respond effectively. Humanity was proving its ingenuity once again, but the Xylar were not easily defeated. Their fleets reorganized quickly, adapting to the new human tactics. They sent intelligence teams, studied human fleet patterns, and tried to anticipate the next strike. However, their arrogance blinded them. They could not imagine humans building hundreds of thousands of ships in secret, nor could they understand human determination and adaptability. The first large-scale human engagement occurred near the Orion Rift, a region rich in resources and strategically vital for Xylar operations. Hundreds of human warships faced a Xylar armada nearly equal in size. The Xylar expected an easy victory, confident in their technology and experience. Admiral Vargos led the fleet from her flagship, HMS Resolute, her presence a symbol of calm command. She issued orders not with hesitation but with precision. Human ships moved in patterns that confounded Xylar targeting systems. They split and regrouped, feinted attacks, and struck where the Xylar least expected. Energy beams collided, hulls shuddered, and explosions lit the void. Humans did not rely solely on firepower. They adapted during combat. Crews hacked Xylar AI mid-battle, redirecting weapons to destroy their own ships. Tactical drones deployed in unpredictable ways, jamming sensors and creating chaos. Cale Munro led a squadron of nimble strike craft, darting between capital ships. His squad disabled key Xylar weapons platforms, turning the battle in humanity's favor. Mara Ives piloted her ship with unmatched precision, taking out communications relays critical to the Xylar fleet's coordination. For the first time, the Xylar experienced defeat at human hands. Their largest ships, thought invincible, were destroyed by a combination of daring, ingenuity, and relentless coordination. The surviving Xylar retreated, leaving the Orion Rift under human control. Back on Earth, the news of the victory spread like wildfire. Humans cheered, mourning the loss of Aurora Prime but proud of their fleet's performance. For the first time, the galaxy began to take note. Humans were not weak. Humans were dangerous. Humans were relentless. Admiral Vargos knew this was just the beginning. The Xylar would regroup, learn, and strike back. Humanity had to stay ahead. She convened a strategic council to plan the next moves. "We cannot just react," she said. "We must anticipate. We must innovate. Every attack they make gives us an opportunity to learn, adapt, and improve. Humanity wins because we do not fight like others. We think, we create, and we endure." The months passed. Human fleets grew larger, faster, and smarter. Every encounter with the Xylar taught new lessons. Engineers modified weapons on the fly. AI networks learned from battle, coordinating attacks that no Xylar commander could predict. Human crews became legends in their own right. Pilots who executed impossible maneuvers, engineers who repaired critical systems under fire, and tacticians who turned near defeats into victories. Even civilians contributed. Scientists developed new shielding technologies, miners harvested rare materials for advanced weapons, and engineers converted old vessels into battle-ready ships. Humanity was not just surviving, it was thriving under pressure. The Xylar, meanwhile, struggled to comprehend the human approach. They had crushed Aurora Prime, expecting Earth to beg for peace or retreat. Instead, humans had responded not with fear but with ingenuity, courage, and unity. Every defeat they inflicted on human forces was temporary. Every victory was a step toward something greater. One Xylar commander, observing human fleet formations, exclaimed to his officers, "They adapt too quickly. They are not predictable. We cannot control them." His words echoed a growing panic within the Xylar hierarchy. Admiral Vargos knew that the Xylar arrogance was humanity's greatest advantage. The aliens assumed superiority, underestimated human creativity, and ignored the potential of sheer numbers united with ingenuity. 500,000 warships were being prepared, but the true strength lay in the people who manned them. Cale Munro, now a key tactician in human operations, prepared for a daring mission. A Xylar fleet had been spotted near a resource-rich system critical for their war production. Human intelligence suggested that if it could be disrupted, Xylar fleet operations would slow dramatically. Cale led a strike team of 30 nimble ships, using cloaking, decoys, and electronic warfare to slip past Xylar patrols. They struck at night, silently disabling weapons and communication systems. The Xylar fleet, caught off guard, suffered losses that shook them to the core. For the first time, Xylar leaders began questioning their strategy. They had underestimated humans, and the consequences were becoming impossible to ignore. On Earth, Admiral Vargos watched the strike from her command center. She remained calm, but inside, she felt the thrill of a calculated risk paying off. Humanity was proving that strategy, courage, and unity could overcome any technological advantage. By the end of Part 2, humans had regained momentum. Xylar forces, once arrogant and untouchable, were now cautious and reactive. Humans had not only survived, they had struck back, turning tragedy into a weapon. Aurora Prime was gone, but its memory fueled a growing determination across the galaxy. Humans were no longer just defending themselves, they were taking the fight to the Xylar. The stage was set for the next phase, the full-scale retaliation that would shake the Xylar to their core. 500,000 warships were almost ready, and humanity's ingenuity, courage, and relentless spirit would soon be unleashed in a galaxy that had underestimated them for the last time. Admiral Selene Vargos stood on the bridge of HMS Resolute, looking at the stars. She whispered to herself, "They think they destroyed us, but they have only awakened the storm." The galaxy had changed. The Xylar Collective, once confident and arrogant, now moved cautiously. Their fleets, once untouchable, had been humbled by humans, fleets they thought weak and predictable. The destruction of Aurora Prime had been intended to teach humanity a lesson. Instead, it had awakened something far stronger. Earth had completed the first wave of its massive fleet. 500,000 warships now hovered across orbital stations, moon bases, and massive shipyards, ready for deployment. Each vessel, from nimble strike craft to massive carriers, was fully operational, armed with weapons designed to exploit Xylar weaknesses. AI networks connected the entire fleet, allowing them to coordinate attacks faster than the Xylar could respond. Admiral Selene Vargos stood on the bridge of HMS Resolute, overlooking the fleet assembled in orbit above Earth. She had spent months planning, training, and watching her people transform grief into power. Her calm presence inspired the crews of thousands of ships, her orders delivered with precision and confidence. "This is our moment," she said to her officers. "They destroyed Aurora Prime. They think they won. They think we are weak. We are about to show them the cost of underestimating humanity." The first step was a calculated strike on the Xylar frontier systems. These were lightly defended, but critical for resource flow to Xylar core territories. Tens of thousands of human warships moved like shadows through uncharted routes, taking advantage of warp points the Xylar did not expect humans to use. Cale Munro, now a seasoned tactician, led a fleet of fast-attack ships to disrupt Xylar sensor networks. His crew worked in perfect synchronization, disabling communication relays, deploying decoys, and hacking critical systems. Within hours, Xylar patrols were confused, some even attacking their own ships by mistake. Humanity's ingenuity was turning the Xylar's strength into weakness. Meanwhile, human engineers had prepared something extraordinary: experimental weapons capable of striking multiple targets at once, creating controlled chain reactions in Xylar warship formations. Small teams of engineers, working alongside pilots, perfected the timing of these attacks. Every battle became a demonstration of human coordination and creativity. The first major engagement occurred near the Xylar home cluster, where hundreds of their capital ships guarded resource hubs, war factories, and command stations. The Xylar fleet was confident, expecting humans to approach cautiously. They were about to learn otherwise. Admiral Vargos gave the order. The fleet surged forward in waves, 500,000 vessels moving with perfect coordination. Smaller strike craft darted in unpredictable patterns, disrupting weapons targeting systems. Medium ships engaged Xylar frigates, drawing fire away from capital vessels. Massive human dreadnoughts unleashed energy beams that bypassed traditional Xylar shields. Explosions lit the void. Xylar ships shuddered under the precision attacks. Humans adapted in real time, adjusting formations, redirecting energy, and repairing critical systems mid-battle. Every crew member, every pilot, every tactician contributed. The Xylar had never faced a species that could fight as one, think as one, and adapt faster than their technology could respond. Cale Munro led a strike team in a daring mission to target the Xylar command flagship, the heart of their fleet's coordination. His squad dodged enemy fire, used decoys, and hacked onboard systems to turn weapons against themselves. Mara Ives piloted the lead ship with skill that became legendary among the crews. She made impossible maneuvers look routine, striking where the Xylar least expected. Inside the Xylar command vessel, panic spread. Their technology was failing. Systems they thought invincible were compromised by human ingenuity. Orders were ignored, targets destroyed, and the fleet began to fracture. For the first time in Xylar history, the confidence of their leaders wavered. On Earth, the population watched live transmissions with a mixture of grief, pride, and excitement. Aurora Prime had been destroyed, but humanity was showing the galaxy their true strength. Across every colony, humans prepared for the coming battles, knowing they were part of something greater than any single planet. Admiral Vargos issued the next phase of the plan: the precision strike on Xylar production hubs. Humans did not seek to annihilate the Xylar species. They sought to cripple their ability to wage war. Resource facilities, war factories, and communication networks were targeted with surgical accuracy. Small strike teams, often under Cale Munro's leadership, infiltrated heavily guarded systems and disabled infrastructure. The Xylar, struggling to maintain control, began to retreat. Their confidence shattered, their fleet scattered. Yet even in retreat, they underestimated humans. Each engagement revealed human adaptability, creativity, and relentless courage. Ships repaired themselves mid-battle. Pilots coordinated attacks that no AI could predict. Engineers improvised weapons on the fly. Humanity was proving that brains, courage, and unity were as powerful as any technology. The final confrontation came at the Xylar capital system, the heart of their territory. Here, the 500,000 human warships converged. This was the culmination of Earth's strategy, the moment they had been preparing for since Aurora Prime's destruction. Admiral Vargos gave her final orders. "We strike together, we strike decisively, and we do not falter. Humanity will show them what it means to underestimate us." The battle was immense. Warships collided in orbit, energy beams streaked across space, and explosions illuminated the darkness like artificial stars. Smaller human ships darted through gaps in Xylar defenses, disabling weapons and shields. Medium and large vessels delivered crushing blows to key targets. The Xylar, despite their technology, could not anticipate the scale or creativity of the human assault. Cale Munro led a critical strike team through the chaos, targeting the Xylar command hub. Using a combination of stealth, hacking, and precision fire, they destroyed the flagship systems, leaving the Xylar fleet leaderless and disoriented. Mara Ives executed the final maneuver, cutting through enemy formations and delivering the decisive blow. Inside the Xylar command center, panic turned to fear. Their fleet, once confident and arrogant, was crumbling. Orders went unheeded, weapons misfired, and chaos spread. The humans had turned every advantage against them. Admiral Vargos watched the battle unfold, her calm presence guiding the fleet. "Hold formation," she commanded. "Push forward. Humanity does not stop until victory is clear." By the end of the engagement, the Xylar fleet was broken. Their war factories destroyed, critical infrastructure disabled, and leadership fractured. They had no choice but to surrender or retreat. Humans had not only avenged Aurora Prime, they had demonstrated a level of power and ingenuity the Xylar could never ignore. Victory celebrations were subdued but proud. Across Earth and its colonies, humans mourned the loss of Aurora Prime, but they also celebrated the unity, courage, and brilliance that had won the war. Stories of individual bravery spread quickly. Cale Munro and Mara Ives became heroes. Engineers, pilots, and crews were honored for turning loss into victory. Admiral Vargos addressed the fleet one final time. "We have shown the galaxy that humanity is not weak. We do not falter in the face of danger. We do not surrender to cruelty. We fight with courage, with intelligence, and with unity. Today, we honor those we lost, and we show the Xylar and every species that humans are a force to be respected." Even as humans celebrated, the message to the Xylar was clear. They were not annihilated, but they were humbled. Humanity left them alive, sending a signal of both warning and mercy. The lesson was undeniable: never underestimate humans. In the aftermath, Earth and its colonies began rebuilding and strengthening defenses. Survivors from Aurora Prime were honored, trained, and given leadership roles in the growing human fleet. Scientists used Xylar technology recovered from the battle to improve human designs. Humanity had learned, adapted, and emerged stronger. Admiral Vargo stood once more on the bridge of HMS Resolute, gazing at the stars. The galaxy had changed, but humans had proven one undeniable truth: when pushed to the edge, humanity rises, unites, and prevails. The Xylar retreat into their home systems marked the end of immediate conflict, but it also sent a message to all other species across the galaxy. Humanity had awakened a power they could no longer ignore. The story of Aurora Prime's destruction had begun as a tragedy, but it ended as a triumph, a victory of courage, ingenuity, and indomitable spirit. As Part 3 closes, humanity prepares not just to defend but to explore and expand. 500,000 warships, thousands of battle-tested crews, and a spirit of resilience unmatched in the galaxy stand ready. The Xylar learned a hard lesson: humans fight differently, humans fight creatively, and humans fight with heart. The galaxy would remember. Humanity would be respected, feared, and celebrated. And for Admiral Selene Vargos, Cale Munro, Mara Ives, and every human who fought, the words were simple, clear, and proud. They destroyed a colony. We built an empire, and the galaxy will never forget humans.